I wanted to introduce you to our MC, Jason Kay. Jason is here in Boulder, Colorado. I'm so excited to do business with him here in Colorado. He and his wife are a team. His background is he is a mechanical engineer, project manager, equips him with the expertise to guide clients through the buying and selling process. His personal experience as a homeowner and investor allows him to understand the challenges of buyers and sellers, whether securing their dream in a competitive market or not. Jason is dedicated to a smooth process and providing a smooth and stress-free experience. So take it away, Jason.
Thank you, Tanya. First, I'm going to introduce Tanya. Tanya Van Rickley is from Monument, Colorado. She was previously in Florida and decided to move to a cooler, less humid climate. She is a former KW team lead, a John Maxwell coach, as well as a disc coach. And she also has a national real estate coach clients with over 200 agents. She is also an Ironman triathlete. And more importantly, 2 months after finishing both a 12, and because that wasn't enough, a 24-hour fitness event, she underwent double bypass surgery to prevent the widowmaker. So nothing is going to keep her down.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Thank you guys so much for coming. I wanted to say, this is going to be a really good day. We have 2 hours together. And what I ask of you is if you guys can keep your cameras on, that would be great. And a little fun tip is if you actually put your name or the city that you're from in the back of your name, then people can send you referrals. So what I'd like to do is type in the chat where you're coming from. That would be awesome. And so what's going to happen is you guys are going to have a lot of questions throughout the day. Okay, we have several speakers. What I'd like you to do is keep the questions coming. But what we're not going to do is answer the questions now. We're actually going to get together as a group and we're going to answer the questions, and we're going to do a video recording of all the questions. And we might actually invite you guys in on a live session with a Q&A. Okay, so first of all, I wanted to introduce the CLG group. You guys have seen on the flyer of all of the members that are speaking today. And who these members are members of, they're basically realtors that have been in the business several years, sometimes multiple decades. And most of them run teams, team leaders, former team leaders. They run huge downlines, and they're some of the biggest leaders in the country. And we're all a part of a lot of different groups. But what I did is I put a message out there and said, hey, who wants to be a part of a coach's leadership group? We're all a part of all of these groups, but we were all looking for collaboration, connection, and just really to be a part of like an intimate family. And so we started this about 4 months ago. We meet every week. And this was something that we all came up with. And so I am just like, I have not been more excited about these members here. They're collaborative, they're helpful, they're humble, okay? And they are rock stars. So who wouldn't want to be a part of this group of people? So I wanted to say welcome. Again, put your questions in the box. And then if all of you got the workbook, great. If not, we will send you workbooks with freebies. Okay, but you need the workbook to get all the freebies. So wanted to just say thank you so much. So, all right, Jason, I'm gonna pass it on to you. And then let's see, is Chris Heller here?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, hi, Chris. Okay, is this my cue, Jason?
This is your cue.
I feel like I'm talking too much. All right, let's see. I don't even see you, Chris. Where are you? Let's see. All right. So I just wanted to introduce you guys to Chris Heller. Chris Heller is the former CEO of Keller Williams. He is the Chief Real Estate Officer of Ojo Labs. If you guys don't know what Ojo Labs is a referral company where they refer agents business and they have a live transfer. And he's partnering with some of the top agents in the country. So every one of you guys should go to ojolabs.com and sign up for their service. Chris Heller is also the author of Dominant Thoughts. So this is where, thank you, Chris, we got the we got the idea of having this be a dominant summit. So today you guys are going to learn how to dominate your thoughts, dominate your business, and then we're going to have a follow-up with dominating listings, dominating marketing, dominate social media. And Chris, I hope you remember this conversation. We had talked about if this meeting went really well, that you would potentially come to Colorado and do one in person. Do I have a thumbs up?
Yeah, I mean, like, there's a lot of places that I do not want to go to, but getting me to go to Colorado wouldn't, you wouldn't have to twist my arm that hard.
I love it. I love it. So, a fun fact about Chris, you guys, is Chris, basically his parents moved when he was in high school to Lake Tahoe, and Chris decided not to go with him. So he decided to stay back in his hometown of Irvine and get an apartment and live with his friends. So he was like, peace out, mom and dad. I'm going to be an adult. So basically it looks like it worked out for you. So aside from Chris being the chief real estate officer of Ojo Labs, the author of Dominant Thoughts, he's also, some would call him a industry legend. He has run a real estate company and a real estate team for over 3 decades. And he has sold over 100 homes a year for 3 decades, 3+ decades straight. So this is why I asked him to come on. He's a personal friend. When I got in the business, I worked for him, 20 years ago. So Chris, thank you so much for coming on. And all of you guys need to go get this book on Audible or on paper, Dominant Thoughts. So Chris, talk to us about the state of the market.
Hey, well, thanks for having me, and thanks for everyone for taking the time to be here. And by the way, I don't, you said it turned out, it almost didn't turn out multiple times. So I do not recommend that you let your kids move into an apartment while they're in high school and move away from them. Okay. But getting beyond that, hey, we are, our company has a board meeting tomorrow, and we've been preparing for it this week. And one of the things that I'm going to be talking to the board about is the state of the market, which is the same thing Tanya asked me to talk about. So this topic's fresh on my mind. I'm not going to say anything that's going to be a surprise to anyone here because you're in it every day. But I do want you to think about a couple of things. We are in uncharted waters. I've had a team, as Tanya said, for 34 years. I've had my license for 40 years. I got my license in 1983. I've been through all sorts of markets. We've never seen a market where we're seeing the things we're seeing now. Now, all that means is it's unpredictable, and no one really knows where it's going to go. People have their opinions. I have my opinions, but they're just that, they're opinions. But here's what we know. We know it's super challenging for agents and teams out there. And for the agents and teams that can meet the challenge or rise to the challenge, it means that's the best opportunity you could possibly wish for or hope for. Because when your competition is struggling, when your competition is scared, when your competition doesn't know what to do, when your competition is failing, that's the best time to be doing the right things to get more business. Now, some of you may be saying, well, that's me. You just described me. That's what I'm feeling, or that's why I'm. That's okay. We all have those days. It's human nature. But don't let those days turn into weeks or months, right? Have those days and get over them. The thing about this market is that it's just, like I said, it's hard, right? I don't think anyone here is afraid of hard work. If you were, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be on this webinar. You'd be at the beach, you'd be golfing, you'd be camping, you'd be doing hiking, whatever else you'd be doing, but you wouldn't be focused on your business. The people that are focusing on their business and doing the right things will be just fine. In fact, most of them will be better than fine, because again, there's more opportunities as agents, other agents are doing less and less because they don't know what to do or how to do it. So here's just a couple things about the market. It's probably not going to change much in the next 12 months. And for those of you that think it is, great. Hope you're right if you think it's going to change for the better. But the reality of it is, it's probably not, right? We're not going to see a sudden and significant increase in demand. We're not going to see a sudden or significant increase in supply, right? We are where we are, and this is the market that we're in. So the real question is not what's happening with the market or what's going to happen with the market. The real question is, what are you going to do? What are we going to do to take advantage of what's happening now? Where are the opportunities, and what do we need to be doing to capture them? And we'll talk about that. And a lot of the people that Tanya invited here are going to be spending the next hour or so talking about those things. And I'll come back in a bit and talk about those things too, about the specific things and how we need to be thinking, how we need to be reacting, and what things we need to be focused on to be able to make sure that our businesses are growing and thriving despite what's happening with lack of inventory, with high interest rates, with a lack of motivation, with lack of urgency, with lack of confidence, right? All the things that are swirling around out there. Here's the last thought I'll leave you with before I turn it back over to Tanya, and then I'll be back to talk about some specifics. Is no matter what happens in the market, and no matter how challenging it gets in your marketplace, if you look at how many homes are listed right now today, and how many homes are under contract today, those numbers are probably bigger numbers than you could handle yourself. So no matter what's happening, there's still enough opportunities for you to get all the business you need to get to achieve your goals. Again, the question just becomes, what are you doing to get that business? So I could talk about the market, where it's going, those type of things, all those things. I don't know that it really matters. What matters is that we understand what's going on right now. And then when we do that, then we're able to say, okay, here's what we need to do to deal with this. Here's what we need to do to come out on the other side better than we are today. And that's what we're going to spend the next hour or two talking about. So I'll stop there. Tanya, any questions from you or anyone else before we keep it moving?
No, Chris, thank you so much. I love it. I love what you said is when your competition is failing, right? It's time for you to lean in. So I love that. So I'm going to pass this actually on back to Jason.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Tanya, and really appreciate your insights, Chris. That was truly amazing. I've never heard it quite put that way before, and it's so very, very true. Our next speaker really doesn't need an introduction. She is Amanda Whitespear out of Houston, Texas. She is a success coach and a certified luxury home member. Along with her husband, they founded the Legend Group. Now, she never really planned on being in real estate. Her degree is in biochemistry, and she has a passion for the ER. She moved to Houston to go to Baylor Medical School, and then dropped out after starting real estate as a hobby, which got her hooked and, of course, made her grandma very, very disappointed. So without further ado, let's give a very warm welcome to Amanda Whitespear.
Thank you so much, Jason. I'm so excited to be here. And our goal for this Zoom is just to really, bring value to you and help you get through these next 12 months. And I think with the right mindset, like we're talking about, it's just going to be unbelievable. So if you want, we can start. I just have 3 quick slides to go over, and I am just honored to be here amongst all these rock stars. So I want to talk about, my branding is always own your city. It's your city, own it. We're spending money and time and energy in whatever city we're living in. We need our people to own a piece of it. And so I want to talk about how to be a resource and really own their trust, your clients' trust. And so the goal when we're starting to talk about real estate is when they think of real estate, you want them to think of you. You want to own their brain space. And speaking of mindset, that'll kind of be an ongoing topic here. To be able to do this, you must really, truly believe that you are the best agent for the job. I've met so many people who are second guessing themselves. And if you don't believe you can do it, your clients are going to get that same vibe. So a quick mindset trick that I've as an introvert, this has really helped me dominate the business is I tell myself, if I'm a secret agent and I don't tell people that I'm in real estate, even though I know that I have the resources and I care and I would really take great care of those people, they're going to turn around and find a realtor who might have better marketing and branding than me. And that realtor might not care, might not have the time, might not take good care of them, might not be great negotiators. And they're going to fail at what they're doing. And that client's going to suffer because I didn't have, the nerve to step up and take care of my people. So if you know that you're going to be a great realtor, get out there and get over that. The best way to do that is to start building trust as quickly as possible. I know whenever I first started, I did 1 million open houses and I would come with cupcakes and candles and all these fun things and nobody would work with me. And what I found is, it's not just showing up and getting their sign-ins and being cute in the kitchen. You need to really find a way to bring value and earn their trust. And so the only change that I made with my open houses that have led to such a high conversion rate is I now say, hey, give me your cell phone number and I'm going to send you fill in your favorite resource, something going on in the community, something off market in the neighborhood. And it's an awkward 5 seconds where you're waiting for them. And it's almost a game of whoever talks first loses. And they'll give you their phone number because they're right in front of you, and share something with them. And what I say is hey, I'm Amanda, save me as Amanda the realtor, because you'll forget my last name. I do this full time and I want to be a resource for you. If you need an electrician or a yard guy or, someone to help you fight your appraisal district value when the appraisal district values your house too high, remember that you've got a realtor on your phone and share me with other people. And what I found is they will ask for a couple of things here and there, and then they'll remember that they've got a realtor in their phone. A great trick, I'm sure a lot of you have a favorite lender or title company that you are always referring business to. If you just make this one little change in your business of saying, when you send that, hey, this lender is amazing, they're going to take great care of you, I've worked with them for years. Coach your lenders and your vendors to edify you. And so if you're brand new, the people who are going to work with you are the people who already love and trust you. If you're bumping into someone who's new, how important is it for someone to go, hey, I'm ABC lender. Before we get started, let me just compliment you on finding Jason as your realtor. I work with hundreds of realtors and he's one of the top people. I don't know how you pulled it off, but he's amazing. And what you'll find is that'll really help you when you go to call that client back to really seal the deal. Something that's really helped me is anticipating your client's needs before they happen and have a resource for truly everything. If you don't have resources in place, we can help you. Reach out, or if you're totally lost and you're brand new, think about joining a team. So how do you anticipate your person's needs before they even know that they have them? So if you want to work with first-time home buyers, you should have a handbook of exactly what to expect, a step-by-step process of this is what you're going to go through and experience. If you're marketing to people who are downsizing, what does that look like? What are the emotional feelings that those people are going to go through? What should they anticipate? If they're relocating to your city, what do they need to know about your city? What should they pay attention to? What areas should they maybe think about or research schools more? If they have bad credit, what free lender programs do you have? So any kind of thing that you think will help solve a problem, you will get paid in direct proportion to that. For example, if you want to be an investor and you have no idea where to start, hey, we create investors. We'll help you source the deals. We'll help you, renovate the house. I've got people who can GC. I've got funding in place. Really see how many things you can solve, and you get the idea. So some people are really nervous about telling everyone, hey, I'm a realtor. Hey, I'm I'm in real estate. That just feels salesy, right? But if you say, hey, I do this full time, I want to help as many families as possible. I want to be a resource to as many things as possible, and create marketing materials for that. Hey, have you heard of our first time home buyer program, our lease buyout program, our builder move up program, our credit building program, our first time investor program? That's relatable. For me, I'm in Houston. There's about 48,000 realtors in our local MLS. So it's really hard to stand out. And every time you scroll through Facebook, it's sold, just listed, come by this house. And consumers are like inundated with that. And what I have found is if you are really specific to who you're marketing and say, hey, I'm working with this new lender. I came across this amazing program. Have you had a job for 2 years? Do you have at least a 580 credit score? Do you live in Texas or Colorado or whatever state you're selling in? Something that really gets their attention is going to make a difference. So create programs and that'll really help. Okay, our next slide is be a connector. Ashley, if you want to switch it over. Awesome. So own deep relationships. What do I mean by this? Okay, so you want to have an abundance mindset. Hey, the more people I connect, the more business I'm going to have. So really own your deep relationships. I've met so many people who are like, it's my first year in real estate. I want to make $100,000. I'm like, great. How are you going to do it? and they're just lost. They're like, oh, I'll work nights and weekends, but they don't really know what they're doing. So really know, what are the type of people that you want to work with? Who are they? How old are they? Where do they hang out? What do they like? What do they value? What's important to them? My little freebie, all of us are sharing freebies to bring value to you. It's going to be a business build out to where you know exactly how many deals you need, where are they coming from? What do you need to do daily, weekly, and quarterly to be on track? What's your average price point? What's your average commission rate? So really use that to break down and be really intentional about who you need to connect with and what relationships you need to have. So if you are not a top producer and you don't have a ton of leads flowing in, you need to do business with people who really trust you and love you. And you really have one shot to make that first impression of, hey, you've known me as a friend, but now I'm a really cool realtor, and this is why. So for all of you, even if you're not in real estate, if you're just in sales, you need a UVP, and that is a unique value proposition. Why you? What do you bring to the table? You know, are you the master of negotiations? Do you really know your city? Do you specialize in single parents? Do you know all the schools and ratings? What culture are you an expert on? Do you have an understanding of investments and buy boxes and cap rates and ARVs and ROIs? So whatever it is that you want to attract, just make sure that you know that language. Okay.
It's all right. Go sit down, okay?
Sorry. So what's important to you? You know, I've met some people who are like, hey, I just went through a divorce and I want to help people get their lives back together.
Amanda, can we pause and make sure that we mute all, because it's going to affect the recording? So I'm going to mute all, and then Amanda, I'm going to have you, I'm going to unmute you.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so what's important to you? You know, some people were like, I just went through a divorce and I want to make sure that I can help other people get their lives back together. Or I never thought I could buy that first house as a single parent. I want everyone to have that ability. So be relatable, have a story, and show them that you are knowledgeable, care, and that you're really smart. A few ideas to connect for me, as far as, you know, how do I make more connections? If you know someone who just moved, offer to write their just moved cards, because you'll get all of their friends, their database, their address. Your idea is their friends are now your friends. If you're about to list a property for sale, before it lists, before it goes on MLS, have a preview party where they can invite all of their friends as a farewell party and all of the neighbors, and they can see the house and they can give their opinions of what furniture to move or what to take out. Is it priced right? People love to share their opinions. So throw a party, and their database is now your database. Client appreciation parties where they can bring friends. You kind of get the idea. But go deeper rather than wider. So for my one big takeaway for this slide is, instead of, let's say you have a goal of selling 20 houses, you don't need to cold call 1,000 people and convert 40 of them and close half of them to get your 20. All you really need is 5 raving fans to each refer you 4 families to help for the year, which is way more obtainable and way less stressful. So do that every single year, and you might just have to find your influencers, your connectors. So some people you might know in your life, they know everyone, and they may never buy a house from you, but they'll refer you over and over and over and over, and that's even better. So share your vision, share your goals, thank them. You know, when you really know your numbers of, hey, my goal is to help 20 families per year. I just really want to thank you in advance for being that connector for me and really thinking of me when you think of real estate and for sending me those referrals. If you thank them in advance and share that with them, they're going to start keeping you top of mind. All right. One last slide. I love it. Okay, so be relevant and own the data. So how to be relevant, and all you really need to do is stay up to date. You really need to know your business and be professional in this. So again, when they think of real estate in any way, they need to think of you. So you need to market where you live, your school events, your games, your local restaurants, your local leagues, any charities that you're in, whatever you're passionate about, tie that to your business and tell everyone about it. One of my favorite things for this slide is interviewing local businesses. So if you don't know anyone, you're in a city, you have no idea where you are, what you're doing, go to other local businesses. Those are entrepreneurs just like you. They have the same mindset as you and they want to grow. And what you'll do is you'll interview them and say, hey, I would really love to share you on social media. I want to bring value to you. You're in our community. I want to make sure people come and try out this ice cream shop or coffee shop or whatever you're passionate about. And there's something called the law of reciprocity. So by helping that business owner grow their business, they feel like they should by default help you. And so they'll start to refer you business. And the added benefit is when you share that on social media and you tag that favorite local business, you get to piggyback off their entire audience. So if they're cooler than you are, do that over and over. Be relevant, stay up to date what's going on with your city. And again, be a resource for anything that they need. If you have a database, use Flowdesk or something similar to Email Blast Don't spam them with just, hey, checking in, hey, use me for real estate. Only send them high value data, things that they actually care about. So anything that you do should have a call to action and a lead capture, so you're not wasting out things. When I first started, I was so proud. I went to a networking event and I passed out 100 business cards. And people were like, you're so silly. Like, you should be getting 20 contacts rather than passing out 100 business cards. So get their information. That's way more important. Okay, so know your city, know what's going on. You know, what should a mom's group check out next? Where are the local dog parks? Where are the cute coffee shops? This is your city and your business. Make sure you know that, you know, you're the local insider. Again, have your vendors list. If you're in Houston, I have an amazing vendors list, so I can help you out. If you're not, start to build that and make sure that whatever people you refer out, they edify you and compliment you and share that. I have just had such a blast with this. We're going to have lots of freebies for you, and I'm really excited to introduce Daniel to y'all. Yay.
Great.
Okay.
Hello.
Thank you,
Yay.
Amanda. That was amazing. Real fast, Daniel is from Nashville. He is the founder of Living Tennessee, which is a full-size office offering personalized service, innovative technology, and most importantly, seriously good coffee. Fun fact, Daniel had a more exciting honeymoon than most when he fell into a crocodile-infested river in Costa Rica. Daniel, take it away.
Oh man, I don't really know how to follow up on that, but I appreciate the info. I'm glad I didn't die. Story for another day. So just piggybacking a little bit off of what Amanda was talking about, just how important it is to be local. So we kind of labeled this talk real local, and the goal here is just to really prepare for your success. And so I'll start by just kind of encouraging you to get your mind right. Your perspective is everything. And we want you to love where you live because we attract what we exude. And when you are passionate about where you live and you exude that energy, people want to be around you. You know, don't be a fun sponge. Like, we have a boat and we have friends that aren't allowed on our boat anymore because they're a fun sponge. When people buy a house, they want to work with somebody who's fun, who's exciting, and who has confidence. So really get your mind right before you're prospecting, before you're meeting people. Do you actually love the community that you serve? And the more you love it, the more people are going to notice it, and the more people are going to want to work with you. At the end of the day, I mean, people think that buying a home is like HGTV, right? There's going to be a property brother around every corner. So make it fun and make it memorable and prepare for your success. All right, let's go to the next slide. All right, so if it's not duplicatable, it doesn't exist. And what I mean by that is name your success system, right? So what I'm about to lay out to you is some real tactical advice on how to be an expert in your neighborhood. And is your content and is your knowledge evergreen? And really what I want to encourage you to think about is that when you're building local strategic relationships, they are for all seasons. You know, if you think about most any lead generation strategy, most of it is seasonal, but your local strategic relationships are going to outlast any season and any market, as Chris alluded to earlier. So let's document it and let's get rolling. All right, so I want you to become an ambassador, right? I think a real estate agent's role is to be an ambassador of the community that you serve, right? Like, you are the knowledge broker. You know more than anybody knows about your area. And the more you know, the higher your confidence gets and the more people you attract to it. So start a business diary, right? That's kind of your action item here. I want you to start a spreadsheet and add a tab for every area that you serve. And then create a process of think about it as a homework assignment or a book report for every single area that you support. That way, whenever you do get a lead, say you're in a restaurant and they say, hey, I want to move to Nashville, you know, you're raising your hand like, I'm your guy. Like, I know more than anybody else about Forest Hills. This is where I live. I know the types of trees. I know the types of birds. I know the back roads. When you have prepared for that conversation, you're just going to attract that lead and be ready for it when it comes in front of you. So be obsessed, right? The way I learn is, you know, I'm listening to podcasts, I'm listening to books, I'm reading everything I can find. Really not a good reader, but I am obsessed about specific topics. And the way I see it is I'm just putting, you know, notches in my belt so that when the conversation comes up, like I'm ready to have it. Oftentimes we talk about, what's our spirit animal? And most people say, I'm an eagle or I'm a lion. I used to think I was a lion. I think I've just settled on Curious George. And I'm really happy. He's fun loving. He's getting into everything, but he's genuinely curious about everything that's going on around him, genuinely fascinated by other people, fascinated by other businesses. And when you have that genuine curiosity, people are attracted to that. So let's roll and kind of get here into some specifics. All right, next slide, please. So I want you to just think about, what is your ROL? And this is when you're starting off and you're building your local business, are you actually enjoying it? Are you investing minutes in things that you're interested in? Are you getting a return? Like, are you actually happy? I know that the real estate market is very, being a realtor is high highs and low lows, and there's lots of ups and downs. So I really want you to just think about, like, hey, am I out there making money? Yes, that's important. But am I investing minutes in things that are actually interesting to me? When you're going out and meeting new people, just remember, you don't need to boil the ocean. There's people that love you just the way you are. So you just got to go out there and tell your story, and you're going to attract people that are of like mind. So just go out there and enjoy it. Like, why do we have to be so stressed about serving our community and serving people in homes? Just be you, and you'd be surprised at how many people like you just the way you are. You're good enough, you're smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like you. A friend of mine, Stuart Smiley, told me that back in the 80s, for those who may or may not get that joke. All right, so living your best life. All right, so let's get tactical here. So if we were to sit down and I was going to move to your city, here's kind of some of the questions I would want to know. And whenever you get stuck as a real estate professional, just put your buyer hat on, put your seller hat on. If you were going to hire a real estate agent, what would your expectations be of them and their local knowledge? When you're traveling out across the world, what do? You always want to go and do what the locals do. So really want to encourage you to slow down, figure out how do you live your best life in your city? And that's really what you're going to share. So tell me, what would the story of your city be? What does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it smell like to be out there in your city? Like, would you consider yourself a real local? Now, I know there's mass migration going across, the United States right now. So I don't think you have to be from an area to be considered local, but you do need to know more than Zillow. So what tips can you share with me about your area that I can't find on Zillow? What would you recommend for XXX? What would you think the best of is? So tell me about some back roads. I mean, that's the granular knowledge. So I'm going to kind of go through some ideas, and this is in your workbook, but just think about this. If we're going to talk about your city, like what's the history of your area? What were some major events that were kind of turning points? Who were some heroes? Was Daniel Boone from your area? Did you have a Davy Crockett or a Sam Houston? What was kind of the storyline on how your area came to be? I do think you need to know your stats. So like the basic real estate stats would be, the units sold, the absorption rate, months of inventory, days on market, average sales price, and the list of sales price ratio, I think, is really powerful. What's the census data? Do you understand like what the population is? What are the demographics? What are the growth areas? Do you know the geography? My city sits in a basin. That means that pollen and all the allergies kind of sits on top of us. So these are things I actually talk about with clients, believe it or not. So what are the construction types of your area? What about the builders? What about the home styles? Do you know where the celebrity homes are? We often entertain guests in our city, and I will literally drive friends around and show them where all the celebrities are, where the musicians are. Kirk Herbstreit lives on my street. Chris Stapleton lives on my street. Maren Morris. And so we'll go by and we'll wave and pretend like we know them, give them the tours. What about utilities, floodplain areas? I can literally look across a map, and I know that parts of Bellevue have flooding and parts of Maury County have flooding. So these are just little talking points that I'm bringing up with people when we're meeting. So do you know about the nonprofits? Do you have an entrepreneurship center in your area? Entrepreneurship Center is a great way to meet other, businesses that are incubating, other smart kids that are growing, their own companies. What about the lakes, the hiking trails, festivals, the greenways? These are things that people, sorry, your chats are cracking me up here. What about the museums? Do you know where the art crawl is? Amanda, if I came to Houston and said, take me to an art crawl, would you know where to go and when they are? So these are little things that, hey, when you see me in the bar and I'm like, hey, I'm your guy, I can lay out all of these details for you. Kids, obviously, very important stuff. These are things that people have big questions about. Where are the best playgrounds, the best swimming pools? What about the sports leagues or healthcare or preschools? And even getting like some, more granular. What are the best sports teams? Who are the coaches, the best players? What were the biggest games in history of that sports team? So these are, again, just talking points that we kind of bring up, but I definitely think you need your favorite types of restaurants. I know Amanda alluded to this too, but where's the best brunch spot? There's a lot of people who like to do brunch. What about sushi? Or what about buffets or people that are vegan? I mean, these are questions that we get asked. Who's the best doctor's office? Where's the best place for margaritas? Best happy hours? Best patios? What about trivia night? We have this place called Singo. I mean, this is important stuff. But again, when I can sit down and just relate with people and share with them like what I do for my best life, again, these are connection points and questions that they're asking as well, and they're paying me for my opinion. I often get annoyed about the rules of a real estate agent and where people are asking your opinion on things, but you're only allowed to give 3. Well, if you were going to get surgery, would you tell me the best doctor, or would you just tell me 3 or 4 because you were supposed to? What are the major industries? Where are the jobs going? And then something like that's big for me is I like to talk about plants. I got bored during the pandemic and I bought a landscaping company. So I learned all about trees and plants and perennials and shade gardens and the soil around my area. I can tell you that cedar trees grow on top of rocks. I can tell you what kind of birds live in your neighborhood. I can tell you like where to put up your bluebird path and your house and all those types of things. And these are just little points that I was obsessed with because people were asking me these questions. And it's fun to show houses when you can walk in and tell them, oh, well, this was built this way. These homes in this area were built in the 60s by this builder. This is our historic district. All of these homes were built in the 20s or 30s. So anyways, I guess you get the point, but what's unique to you? What's unique to your area? I'll even talk about the animals and the predators or agriculture. Like, what are the seasons of your area? When is the best time to get corn or soybeans? Like, what about agriculture? I mean, are you selling to farmers? So I guess just kind of moving on here. One thing that I would really like to point out is that I feel like we often skip steps, but just remember that your questions lead to conversations, your conversations lead to relationships, and your relationships lead to opportunities. And then you just repeat that process. I met an author, and I'll kind of wrap up with this, but I met an author, Phil Jones, and he wrote Exactly What to Say. I highly recommend that book. But basically he studied over 260 different industries, and basically across all industries, the metrics were 10 meetings, right? A meeting's like, hey, me and my friends, we're going to talk shop. We'll end up leading to about 5 appointments, what we would call consultations. And then out of those 5 appointments, you're always going to find about 1 to 3 legit opportunities. So don't skip the steps. Just go out, nail your knowledge, start your diary, go out and connect with people, share your story. And before you know it, you're going to have all these beautiful pine trees there at the end, just like that slide.
That was amazing. Daniel, thank you. I definitely learned a lot. If you guys learned a lot, light up the chat box. Come on, let's see some reactions in there.
And by the way, Daniel, I just put a link. Daniel has done 2 trainings for us on Get Local, 2 60-plus-minute trainings, because he always goes over. I think one was an hour and a half.
Yeah, right. Well, it's fun being an expert, and the more you know, how powerful you are, and you're just visualizing that success and ready for those opportunities.
Very cool. Well, our next speaker is Gary Semenuk from Keswick. He is the team leader, lifestyle coach, and dream weaver for his Ontario-based real estate organization. Since there are no child labor laws for family, he started working at age 8 in his father's business. He started his first business at age 19 because he's an underachiever. His family is that of explorers, and he loves adventure travel. And since he's a self-proclaimed introvert, he says that if he can do it, you all can do it. So please, let's have a very warm welcome for Gary.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Jason, and thanks everybody for having me on here. And a little backstory quickly before I get going on my presentation. This all came about us being connected by me being at a conference last year and meeting a woman named Peggy Delano, getting on an elevator and us talking to one another. Hey, who are you? Where are you from? And that led to a lot of big connections in this world. So the point of all this is just similar to what I'm going to talk about in door knocking, is you just need to get up, knock on the door, open your mouth and say hello to people. You'll be amazing you'll be amazed at the connections you make and people you meet and the opportunities that come with it. So moving into my slides, I wish I had an hour to do this presentation because I could certainly use it. We'll certainly expedite that. So knocking, knowing your town, be unique. Everybody needs to know who you are. So what that means is that knowing your town is you really need to know your demographic, your inventory, price points, and things like that. If you're going to go out and make door knocking a priority for yourself, being unique, something that we did extremely well when I got into the industry. We didn't have the budget we have, like we have now to be able to do what we do, where we can invest money in being more known. So we had to really go about this in a creative manner. For me, it was doing events. So we ran weekend car shows 16 weeks a year through the summer, and we had different giveaway events and different things, and we got local vendors involved. So I did everything on leverage in my business to get to where we are today. So for those of you that maybe are starting or you're going through a trend shift like we all are in this industry, where money's tightening up, possibly figure out how to use other people to leverage yourself into what you need. Now, establishing how big your farm will be is really critical if you're going to be a door knocker. I typically would not want to manage more than 2,000 to 3,000 houses at a go in an area, because it becomes extremely hard to start to be doing your door knocking with consistency. It's no different than anything else we do. It's about getting out there and follow up. Geographically know your farms, right? So what's really critical about that is to know the housing types that you have, and the bigger the house, the less they tend to turn over. So you want to have a good mix of everything from first-time homes to the mansions, right? If you can work your way into the luxury, by all means, do it. It just, it takes longer and it's often more expensive. So you always want to find the housing inventory that's move up, move down first-time home buyers, because honestly, that's going to be your quickest way to get to sales. Only farm areas with turnover. So again, I study areas and I make sure that there's inventory turning over in those areas, because if they aren't, we just don't farm it. So like where I live, we have about 300 houses in our subdivision, only about 10 a year turnover. So we really don't even bother farming here, because we know, especially in our demographic, it's all middle-aged people. They're already established. They have their friends, they have their people that are realtors. So it's extremely difficult to break into that market. So always know what the turnover is like. I would always say have a budget for purpose-driven marketing. We always kept it really simple. For me, when I was doing a lot of door knocking, we would even go to the dollar store and get little toys and put them on our business cards, leave them on a street and say we knocked the street. We go into Facebook groups, say we're on the street. If you got one of these toys, go join our group, and we'll give you an opportunity to have a prize draw of $50 at a local restaurant. So we had a lot of fun with it, that we got people to engage with us on the doors that didn't open. find ways to utilize your tech and benefit CRM and Google. So really critical is to get organized with your data. And if you can't afford a CRM, at least start using Excel or something, to that effect, or even Google Drive, where you can go in and create spreadsheets. When I talk about Google, something that we've done, and I'm not going to get into it at all long today because there's no time, is within Google Maps, there's a little feature called Your Places. And you can go and create whole lists in mapping out your town. So you can map out everything from churches to restaurants to you name it, whatever your town's famous for. In our case, talking about famous people, Jim Carrey, the comedy actor, grew up in a town right next to us, like 10 minutes away. So, we're famous for people like him having grown up here. So it's really critical, if you can, to figure out how to use things like Google. I'm happy if people want to message me, or we do another class where I'll get in and I'll show you guys how to do just that, creating these awesome Google lists that are actually published, and they work extremely well to get people to give you their information. So door knock consistently, minimum 100 doors daily. And, that's at least 4 to 6 days a week. If you're going to really want to go about this, and I'll give you some quick stats as to how it should break down in conversion. We know from having done thousands upon thousands of doors that for every 100 doors you knock, statistically, you'll have between 17 and 25 doors open. And if you're asking for business and nurturing that, you should be able to do at least a deal a month out of doing this alone. So if you can do 12 deals a year, you're not doing too bad. You're really outpacing the market in terms of what realtors are doing, and you're going to get great exercise as well. So get out there and get knocking. Knowing your big why, live like you've already reached your dreams. So I came from being Keller Williams. I was a maps coached individual, and my coach always said to me, if you don't know your big why, you never are going to get to where you want to go. So for me, it was all about having property in Florida and owning a palm tree. And so when I was out there trudging around in the snow and the ice and the rain, because I live in a half the year is sunny and warm, half the year is cold and ice and rain. So it was really critical for me to know that even when I was getting, the not kind people, which wasn't often, but people close the door in your face, things like that, that we basically just moved into a place of, I'm just going to keep going because I'm focused on my end result. And we can move on to the next slide. So leverage the community, and also, farming, plant your seeds, be a success. You must know your community and they must know you. So really quickly, we really got well known leveraging doing events. And the other thing I would do is go to home shows and different things locally and go buy a ticket and walk the floor. And I get to know all the vendors because they're all business people that are movers and shakers. So for $10, I could go and get 200 or 300 business cards and really have an ability. So to get to know who in the community is really important to us and how to leverage them, and use your local businesses as a resource. For us, I would go around twice a year and I would do Facebook Lives where we would do on the calendar day. So if it was 30 days or 31, we would do 30 and 30, go in and do a live right in front of the business. And if the person that owned it wanted to talk, great, we get them on camera. We built a massive following locally by doing that, and had the respect of business owners because it was free advertising for them. And then capture every person you connect with. I can't stress enough, guys, how important it is when you're banging on doors. Don't be there just to get somebody to say hello to and have a conversation. It needs to be agenda driven, and you need to, one way or another, have a reason to get their contact information, and not just have real estate information, because that can be often boring for people. They're looking for stimulation. So give them something to connect with in the community, which can be your Google lists and or other things, right? Or a newsletter that you even have that's unique. Just have something that causes them to want to really be curious about staying connected with you. And then, don't be a ghost. People have to be able to find you. So you need to have a web presence. Even before we could afford to do anything, and this is going back a number of years ago, we were heavily involved in social media, and I used social media to the nth degree to leverage people knowing us in the community. So, am I supposed to go on here? Sorry, guys.
Yeah, you can go on if you want. You still have some time.
Okay, excellent. Actually, if you go back to that next slide, I just want to see if there was something I wanted to touch. So top key points, exactly. Be unique. Again, I came from being extremely introverted, and I was brought up in an environment where door knocking and or phone calls was completely foreign to me, right? I was taught to hate it by my parents. So when my coach said, this is how you're going to go about your business because you're not doing enough to stay in business, believe me, guys, I had a lot of nervous moments around that, and really had to grow through stinking at it to get good at it. And then, for me, I think the other thing is, tell your story. Just like, the elevator thing that I mentioned in the beginning, years of evolution and just, going to different events and doing things has taught me to make sure I have a story, right? That's attached to me and who I am and how I got here. And people want to hear it, frankly, especially when it's really genuine. And like was mentioned here in the beginning, be humble. Don't be ego driven. Because frankly, the industry doesn't need any more ego-driven people. It needs humble people that want to help others. And then know who your people are, right? For me, we've gotten to really know our town, our community, what it stands for. We're more of a blue-collar community where I live, even though real estate averages are $1 million and up here now, we're still a blue-collar type of environment. So always fit into that environment, right? Because there's big differences in the status of people. And I can't stress enough how much it's been our pleasure to get to know and be diversified with the amount of different people that we work with around here. And something for me, talking about on the right side, I'm very fortunate to live in a community too that is lakeside. So we have everything from very low-lying entry-level houses up to $25, $30 million homes and cottages here. And, that is something that we've been lucky enough to work our way up the ladder into, right? We came from very humble beginnings, taking what we could get for business. And then we started to every year set a process and or vision around what's next for us. So we've really spent a lot of time deeply focused on, and I'm going to wrap up right away, deeply focused on what we want next, right? It can't just be living day by day, guys. You have to have future vision, future pace for your business. And thank you.
Gary, that was amazing. For an introvert who knocks on 2,000 or 3,000 doors, can't believe it. Let's light up that chat room, guys. What do you think of Gary? Yeah, that truly amazing. So our next speaker is Chris Nolan. He is from Vero Beach, Florida, as well as having a team in Maryland because everybody likes the humidity and the cold. Anyway, he has transitioned from a successful military career to real estate and founded his own team, creatively named the Nolan Group. He has always been business-minded, even as a child. He wanted to make money, so he tried to convince his parents to let him mow the lawn when he was a small child, so he could start mowing the neighbors' lawns and making money. But they told him he was too young. So while they were at work, he took it upon himself to mow the lawn, all of the lawn, including the ornate grasses, the flowers, and the plants. Needless to say, his parents weren't too thrilled, but he still is pushing forward. Please give a very warm welcome to Christopher Nolan.
Thank you so much, Jason. And thank you, everybody. I really appreciate everybody being here. Like Jason said, I started in the Marine Corps. I was combat arms, started as an 0311, which is a rifleman. Then moved on to being a police officer with the U.S. Capitol Police in D.C. for 11 years after that, before taking an early retirement to come over here. So when Gary's talking about being an introvert, my job back then, was staying out of the light, right? I didn't talk to with people, and when I was door knocking, it went very different than what Gary is doing. Okay, so what I want to talk to you guys about is the pillars of lead gen. Right, when you're doing this, when you have to choose the sources that you're going to get your leads, just like everybody else talked about becoming the expert and all that stuff. But how do we get that message out there? So next slide, please. The We have to get that message out there, right? So how do we do that? Social media, let's just jump around for a second. Social media is a great one, right? We can set that up. We can, get our message out to the world in a relatively easy fashion. And realistically, when we're doing that, it's free, right? Whether you choose your, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, whatever it is, you choose the platform that's comfortable for you. And from there, you can get that message out, whatever you tailor that message to be, right? The internet SEO operations, right? Whether you're paying for leads through a company like Realtor.com, Zillow, whatever it is, or if you're doing it organically through Google or things like that, you're going to have to pay for that a little bit, okay? But if you do stuff like SEO, there are classes that you can take where you can really optimize that. All right. But where I want to really concentrate here. Now, these are my pillars that I use. The things that I do is the local groups, being that I'm a Marine and former cop. I lost my brother while he was in the Army. My best friend, lost him to years of, unfortunately, alcohol abuse after his military experience, and we just lost him. They were supposed to be here as the other parts of my team. They're not available to do that anymore. So anybody that knows me knows that I'm highly embedded in the veteran community. We bring furniture out to veterans that were homeless and getting them back there. Now, that is about doing the right thing, but the byproduct of being part of these groups and helping this brings it back to your, back to you in referrals from buyers and from realtors and non-realtors. Okay, so after that, I saved the sphere of influence for last, because the sphere of influence is kind of where, as you make these connections, everybody kind of falls into sphere of influence at some point. The sphere of influence is where we have to look at it. Most of us come from some place different than where we were or where we are right now. Okay, so we have to change the narrative on our people. If they know me from when I was a Marine or a cop, or when I was a punk kid back in the day, mowing my parents' plants down, whatever it is, I have to change that narrative. Okay, so that sphere of influence is our chance to really connect with our people that we already know, we already trust. They know us from some aspect, but we need to get out there, and we do that through a series of communications. One of my favorite ones is the mayor's campaign. All right, now the mayor's campaign is a simple thing. I call up, I'm like, hey, Jason, how you doing today? Haven't talked to you in a little while. How's life? How's the kids, right? What are you doing? At some point, the conversation may or may lead into what I'm doing for a living now, okay? But in the event that it doesn't, or you don't have an opening, that's fine. But before you end the conversation, you kind of finish up with oh, by the way, if you were looking to buy or sell a home, do you have someone that you would turn to, right? I want to identify if they're already working with a realtor. Their uncle might be a realtor. I have a good friend I've told a lot of people about. We're great friends. His aunt is a realtor. She gives him all of his commission back. I'm not going to get his business. We're still good friends, all right? But I need to identify that. And by using, the sphere of influence, we are going to maximize our business, and we're going to get to design our business to a manner where we're going to get to work with people that we really enjoy working with. I know too many people that I've had conversations with right on this very phone call, myself included. We have had transactions that end at the transaction because it was so painful. The buyer just didn't listen to anything. The seller wouldn't work with us. All right, so we want to work with like-minded people, and by nurturing your sphere of influence, you get to really choose the people that you work with. Because if you like somebody and they refer you, there's a good chance that person that they refer you to is going to be of the same caliber of the person that referred them. I hope that makes sense. So bottom line is, guys, we have to get out there, change the narrative of who we are. Just over a decade ago, nobody knew me as anything but a cop and a Marine. All right. If I ran into 3 people in my neighborhood that knew who I was, it was a lot, because nobody knew who I was. And I made the decision when I was on Capitol Hill, and I was not happy where I was. All right. And it was time to make a decision. And I always wanted to do real estate. I jumped in and I made the commitment to my lead gen. I started out making my phone calls, so on and so forth. And now the narrative is Chris Nolan is, the team leader and realtor. And honestly, what Jason said about the name of the Nolan Group, that was actually picked up by my team when we started. I tried to change it and everybody thought I was crazy. All right, because I had built up such a name for myself already just by getting my name out there. So that was actually not my choice. So, but it works. And we've been growing for, over a decade now, and we will continue to do that. So what I need you to ask yourself is, are you the one they call? Why should they call you? Get that message, all the value that everybody was talking about, being the local expert and everything else, get it out there. And then do you care? Show people how much you care, and remember, this is your bread and butter. So let's get out there and let everybody know what's going on. And guys, I can't thank you enough for what we're doing, for what you've been doing out there. Choose your pillars and let's grow. Thanks. Back to you, Jason.
Very cool. Christopher, thank you so very, very much. Our next speaker, I've already introduced. I'm going to bring Tanya back on the stage so she can start talking a little bit and give you some stats in follow-ups, lead gen, and other agents. Tanya, please take it away.
Thank you. And thank you guys so much for being here again. I'm getting all these comments saying you guys are appreciating the content. And Chris, I miss you so much. I left Florida to be in Colorado to snowboard and be an empty nester, but my team over there is awesome. So first and foremost, I forgot to give a fun fact to our MC, Jason K. So I wanted to just loop around again. Jason is a recovering engineer. He found that his theater minor was far more useful in engineering and the corporate world than his master's degree in engineering he got from Columbia. Why did I know you were in theater?
No idea. Absolutely no idea at all there.
I absolutely love that. Okay, so I'm putting my timer on. So what I want to do is I want to talk about what Chris and Gary talked about, okay? Door knocking as a woman is also one of my favorite things to do. And in a low inventory market, y'all, do not wait for the property to come on the market. If you have a client that says, I want that neighborhood, you better be knocking on that door and doing what I did. And when I did this, guess what? I got a $950,000 sale. I got a $900,000 referral. I got a $550,000 listing. And one thing that you guys will realize working with perfect strangers and door knocking, you actually might fall in love with it. Because when you work with people, sometimes they don't trust you, right? Sometimes they ask for your commission. But when you start working with people that you instantly have their respect, sometimes the transactions go way easier, right? So start learning to work with strangers. And the other thing they said is, put yourself out there and give your card out. There's a book called The 4 Laws of Agreement. And one of the laws of agreement is never assume. So never assume because someone knows 100 realtors that they actually would give them business, okay? So one of my scripts is when I hand out my business cards, I tell people, go sit in a coffee shop, go hand out cards and make a joke. Hey, my name's Tanya and I'm a realtor. I'm sure you know 100 realtors because I know I do. But if you don't have a realtor you would refer business to, I would love to earn your referrals, okay? That's the way I like to hand it out. Or if you knew someone buying or selling, do you have a realtor you would refer them to? Okay. So actually, can we actually go back a slide? I'm going to start off with you attract who you are. So I'm a John Maxwell leadership coach, and we're going to go to attract who you are. I always talk about you attract who you are. So my question is, in this market, are you repelling people or are you attracting? Okay. So a lot of you are like thinking about lead gen. I want to go lead gen. I want to go lead gen. I need leads. I need leads. I need leads. But the leads are right in front of your face. Your sphere of influence is in front of your face. The people that you know are in front of your face. But the question is, are you attracting the business or are you repelling the business? Okay. A lot of you are in doom and gloom mode, right? And you need to get out of it. And if you don't think, if you're suffering with anxiety, depression, worry, and fear, right? People know that and they can feel it even when you think they can't. Okay. So I always say that if you want more business, yes, you can go prospect and you should prospect, pick up the phone, door knock, cold call, all those things, do open houses. But the best way to prospect is to attract more and to be better or to attract better. Next slide, please. So go to the next one. I messed these slides up this morning, you guys. Okay, so you attract who you are. You attract who you are. So what got you here isn't going to get you to your new 2.0 version. Or people like me, I'm going to be 50 in a year, my 5.0 version, right? So the question is, the market was a little easy, right? Chris Heller was saying it. The market's hard right now, right? It was easy. But right now, you have to think, what got me here? Is what got me here going to get me to the next level? And if the answer is no, you have to make a decision for change. People, and part of the change is your own self-worth. People are never going to be able to outperform their self-image, right? People are never able to outperform their self-image. You could be dressed up to the nines and show up somewhere and people could feel, right? Your insecurities, maybe you're overcompensating, those kinds of things. So I just want you to ask yourself, on a scale from 1 to 10, where is my self-worth right now? Where is my self-image right now, right? The value we place on ourselves is the value others place on us, okay? So if you want to attract more, I have a lot of people say, I want to get into luxury. Okay, well, if you want to get into luxury, then you need to be acting more luxury, right? If you want to attract that, go hang out there. Be careful what you put on your social media and those kinds of things. Low self-esteem puts a ceiling on our potential, okay? So the way to generate more business, improve your self-esteem, okay? I always say this. Don't be a 2 looking for a 10. It's kind of like on the match sites, right? If you're dating, don't be a man that's a 2 saying, I want a 10, I want a supermodel, but I got this big old beer belly, right? But I want this perfect person. Attract who you are. And if you're not that person now, then figure out how to be better. And I guarantee you, you will attract more. Next slide. Okay. So follow-up statistics. Okay. Follow-up is the fortune is in the follow-up. A lot of you guys are missing the follow-up game, okay? 2% of sales are made on the first contact, 3 on the second contact, 5% of sales are made on the third contact, 10 on the fourth, and 80% of sales are made on the 5th and the 12th contact. Did you get that? 80% are made on the 5th and the 12th contact. 25% of people never follow up. 48% of salespeople never follow up with a prospect, and 12% of people make more than 3 contacts. You guys have to master the follow-up game. Next slide, please. So the thing with the follow-up game, right? It's easier more than ever. You can text, you can call, you can send a video message, you can send an item of value. Just like every single one of these speakers has been talking about, you got to send value. Gary just mentioned it. Amanda just mentioned it. Chris Heller talks about it all the time. Don't just post for sale by owner and I just listed. Give them value of things that they cannot find. So you guys, Keeping Current Matters here is a really great website, okay? And I'm going to end it with this. When you're thinking about how can I follow up with someone, can you go back to that slide actually? How can I follow up with someone? You can go to Keeping Current Matters, right? And you can find a slide on the interest rates if somebody is scared of interest rates. Or if there's a seller and they're wondering what's happening with inventory, go to Keeping Current Matters, pull an article off, text it them and say, hey, I was just thinking of you. I hope you're well. I hope you enjoy this article. It might help you. I'm here when you're ready. Okay. So this is something you could take this Keeping Current Matters article and literally send it, mass text it or mass send it or mass email it or put them on your Facebook. So if you guys aren't using Keeping Current Matters, you got to use it because this, you don't even have to think of what value to send. Of course, you can send stats and those kinds of things. So next slide. So basically, how do you attract more? Actually, it was the first slide. How do you attract more? You need to assess, okay? You need to assess where you are, where you want to be, who you want to be, and who you will be with. John Maxwell says, those who start with you seldom finish with you. And right now, you got to figure out, is my circle right now holding me back? Are they contaminating my life or helping my life? Are they contributing? You need to work on yourself. To know yourself is to grow yourself. Eliminate what's not working, do more of what's working, change your environment to change your life. If anybody follows me, I change my environment all the time. Change your environment to change your life, okay? And do more video, okay? If you want to attract more, do more video, but you need the confidence, right? And the self-esteem to do the video. Nobody cares how much you weigh, okay? Nobody cares about that. All I want to know is that you're giving value in their confidence, because guess what? Humble confidence is sexy, and humble confidence does not come in a size. So thank you guys for letting me talk.
Oh my God, that was amazing, Tanya. Thank you so very, very much. So let's light up that chat box, people. Come on, give it up for Tanya. Thank you. All right, our next speaker is Ashley Goladay. She is currently living in Waxahachie. I can't even speak anymore. Waxahachie, Texas.
Nope.
All right,
Waxahachie.
there you
That's
go.
why I put Dallas.
Yes, I can't speak, nor can I pronounce that word. Anyway, Ashley started her career off as a financial advisor, eventually setting up her own consulting company, saving brokerages millions of dollars. And she's still performing that same magic today. In a rare feat, she has managed to hiccup at least one time every day since she was about 12. So put your virtual hands together and give a very warm welcome to Ashley.
Thanks, guys. I am so excited to be here. I spent my childhood, my mom was an agent, my dad was a programmer. And so I kind of have this unique ability to speak both languages. And so for real estate, where that is so incredibly valuable is teaching people how to treat this like a business. And so I always talk about the business of real estate and which came first, the chicken or the egg, right? Is it the sales that came first, or is it the business? And really, for me, it's always the business, because if you don't treat this like a business, then there's nothing to, that's why we're chasing the next commission. And so all of the things that everybody's talked about, you have to have the foundation for the business in order to succeed. And so the foundation is not just a one and done thing. First of all, the foundation has to be this massive concrete, rebar foundation. It can't be made of sand, or you're constantly going to be chasing the next commission. And so that's where I specialize in, is the systems and the technology, because the thing about building the foundation is, yes, when you build a new home, you build the foundation and okay, cool, that should be there for a long time, but you have to maintain it. Right? You have to keep working on it. You have to water it, and you have to, check the pillars once every 10 years or get it serviced, right? That's not just you think that that's going to last for 30 years and that's all you need to do is the very first time. So what I really, really work on is, how do we make the business better? How do we work smarter, not harder, and making those systems work for us? And so if you're still using the same CRM you've always used, then you're not doing it as good as you could be, because technology changes so quickly nowadays. So all I'm going to do is tell you my favorite things from systems at this moment in time. So a lot of people use Calendly to schedule for themselves right now. And I have found a thing that is far superior to Calendly. And so if you haven't heard of reclaim.ai, go check it out. It is the most intelligent, functional calendar booking appointment. It is smart enough to go in and you say, hey, I've got a project I got to work on, and it will find the best time for you in the next 2 weeks. And it will override, and you can have a special priority booking link that will override your projects or your time blocks or things like that if someone needs to get to you really quickly. One of the things that agents do to me all the time, they text me, Monday morning, and they're like, hey, can you meet this afternoon at 3 o'clock? And I'm like, no, I have, not that I necessarily have other meetings, but I have other things I need to do that are priority for me. And so then I get to decide if I give that link of the priority link and getting access to me. So reclaim.ai is my new favorite thing from a calendar standpoint, because Calendly wasn't quite cutting it for me. And this is all of my time, all in one place, not just how do other people book for me, but Reclaim helps you manage your time, project management, all of that all in one place, as well as your booking calendar links for other people that want to spend time with you. So that is my favorite time saver and business system right now is Reclaim. From accountability standpoint, I'm not sure how many of you are using Trello or Asana or Monday from a project management standpoint. Maybe you manage your transactions that way and you go, here's my to-do list or whatever that is, as far as the team or just how you're managing your business and creating the systems that Amanda and everybody's talked about. Because if you don't have the foundation and all the follow-up things and all the systems in place, doesn't matter how many people you talk to, doesn't matter how many contacts you make. Right? You have to have the value to give to them. And so you can use, whatever that looks like. But ClickUp is my new favorite project management accountability system. It integrates with Reclaim. It also integrates with Google, your calendar, your email, whatever those things are. ClickUp is amazing from a project management standpoint. So you get a new listing, you can create all of your checklists and tasks in ClickUp, whatever that is. And so it's far superior, again, to Trello, Asana, Monday. This is my favorite thing as far as project management, accountability, teamwork, follow-up. Like, again, I can tell the team member, hey, I need this. If I send an email and tell somebody, oh, I need this done, now I've got to remember to send an email to follow up with them. Whereas if I'm using a system like ClickUp, I put it in there and I assign the task to them. Now the system reminds them over and over again. Hey, is this done? Hey, is this done? This is the deadline. These are all the subtasks that they can do. So it gives that transparency and accountability that sending an email just doesn't cut it anymore. Someone sent me an email 2 weeks ago and I never got it. And I never, replied to it. And I just was like, when were you going to come to me via some other, avenue of communication and go, hey, I need an answer from this. Right. So I don't use emails anymore. Tanya's mad at me because I have an auto reply set up that says text me and I need to rework the verbiage because it's a little harsh. But if you're not using an accountability or a project management system, because every single thing you do in your real estate business is a project, there needs to be a system and the follow-up, not just the CRM for the clients, but your business. Okay. So that's my accountability recommendation is go check out ClickUp. It's amazing. So many integrations, so much AI. Leads. So getting into those CRMs, if you're still using the same CRM you've always used, you're missing out. And I know that that's probably one of the only core systems that most agents are using, but believe it or not, there are agents that don't use a CRM because it's not easy, right? And you guys are salespeople, and that's why this is the hardest part of your business and what you do is because systems are not your jam, right? And so creating a database and to build out the CRM is not what anybody wants to do. And so I love this system. It's called MoxieWorks. And I'm going to give you guys a link for all of these things after this. But MoxieWorks is almost like Google Suite. So Google started out as email only, right? And so I was a 2003 beta user of Google. I am a Google girl. I use everything in my business there. And I love the suite of tools that it has expanded into. MoxieWorks is kind of that same thing. So it's a CRM for your lead generation, for your marketing hub, for attraction. If you are a brokerage by some sort, you can, use it to recruit and that kind of thing. But it's one place that I have access to all of the things. And so my favorite thing about MoxieWorks is CRM is for me, it took me years to get my CRM set up because I didn't want to do the database. I didn't want to go create the spreadsheet to import into the system, assign the groups, all the things. But I'm a Google girl, remember? If I add a contact to my cell phone in my Google and I save it on my cell phone, the next time I log into MoxieWorks, that contact is sitting on my dashboard to then assign to the database, right? And get them into a campaign. So for me, that is a huge opportunity and time saver. I have actually used the CRM instead of avoiding it because I'm on my phone all the time. So if your CRM is not connecting to your Google contacts and you can't easily just do that once and it shows up in your CRM, then definitely recommend updating that and considering the transition because it is phenomenal. Everything it does, it automates all your listing materials and marketing materials. The moment you take a listing, connects to MLS. So it's got IDX, all of these things. So that is my favorite CRM at the moment, solely for that one thing of getting people into the database, because that is the number one reason that agents fail with their CRM, is because they don't even take the time to import the contacts and set that up. Last one is analytics. So I put this quote at the top, should have put it at the bottom, but I've seen Tony Robbins now 3 times in the last 3 years. And every single time I swear he says this, but you can't manage if you don't measure. There is no business if you don't have your arms around the analytics and the data of how the business is working or not and failing. And so some of you might be familiar with CTE or CSU. CTE stands for Commitment to Excellence. It is a spreadsheet. And as much as I am a spreadsheet queen and know all of the spreadsheet formulas and all the things, that's not agents' jam. And data entering it manually is time consuming. And so, especially if you're a team and you have an admin that's doing that, you change admins, you have, more training to do. And so that's my issue there. Really affordable, but it's still just a spreadsheet. It's a fancy spreadsheet, but it's just a spreadsheet. CSU competes with CTE, but it's super expensive. And it was built for a lot of different industries, not real estate necessarily. So you're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. And that's not necessarily what a team leader or an agent that's treating it like a business is looking for. So if you have not heard of or looked at Solioaks, this is my favorite analytics tool. This developer built out a team solution, an analytics system for production, for ROI, for lead gen, all of the things, your conversion rates. You can track your team's conversion rates from appointments or from phone calls to appointments to METs to contract to close, right? And the greatest thing about Solioaks is that it will API to whatever system you and your brokerage are using. So if you're using Dotloop, we can API. If you're using SkySlope, you can API. So it eliminates a lot of that manual data entry that it takes to manage the team or to know what the production and the analytics are. So Solioaks.com is the analytics piece and really the measurement that you need to know how successful those sources are working for you. Was this a door knocking lead? Was this a referral lead? Things like that you just can't manage. And especially for teams, this is probably more so for you guys, but the coaching and accountability of your team members. So one of the things that Solioaks has is a team scorecard. And so now I can quickly see, and I'll share screenshots after, but you can quickly see who's in the red, who's yellow, who's green, who's above their goals versus their actuals. Things like that used to take so much time, energy, and effort to manage. Now we can build it into a system. And then no matter how many times the admin goes, you're still importing that data from where it already exists. So those are all of my resources. I hope that's really helpful. Thank you guys for having me.
Oh my God, that was amazing. Amanda, thank you for sharing that. Oh, sorry, Ashley. That was truly, truly amazing stuff there. I mean, this is absolutely gold. Let's see it in the chat box, people. I like the clapping. Thank you. All righty. So following hot on the heels of Ashley, I'm going to bring Christopher Nolan back to talk about how to get your day back, specifically using tech and people to regain time and reclaim time. Christopher, please take it away.
All right, thank you guys. And, I'm going to piggyback off of what Ashley said, because, she brought out all the great systems and, they work. And you really need to have these systems in place. The thing about it is when you're looking at this stuff, and I know if you're not really familiar with some of these systems, it sounds kind of overwhelming. But the way I like to look at it is, at this point, you all know I'm a Marine, right? And back in 1918, General John Pershing said the deadliest weapon in the world is a Marine with his rifle, right? We are the best marksmen in the world when it comes to shooting rifle, right? It's part of our job. But why is that? In the Marine Corps, when you get to boot camp, on the first day, you receive your rifle. You learn how to take it apart. You learn how to clean it. You learn how to, we call it snapping in, practicing your shooting stances, and all the fundamentals that you learn to shoot, right? It's almost 8 weeks of doing this every day until we get to the point where we actually get to the range and put the first round through our rifle. At this point, we already have our fundamentals down, right? And then as we learn to shoot more and more, At that point, we correct for windage and, the different elements of where we're shooting. 500 yards, for anybody that doesn't know, is 5 football fields long. That's with open sights, no scope, okay, at a man-sized target, okay? So if you apply those fundamentals to the real estate world, and you realize that we have to track it, we have to do all the things that Ashley was talking about, and make sure that we're putting our systems in place, building that foundation, and then we adjust fire as we go along, right? By doing these little things, being accountable, using our CRM, our time blocking, and our accountability tools, we can then make small adjustments as we go on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month basis, as opposed to getting to the end of the year and then wondering what it is that we're actually trying to accomplish, right? And or what happened and why it went wrong in the past year. Right? I hope that all makes sense to everybody. So when you do that, one of the things that we do on our team is we find that agents in general wait until they find a person that wants to buy a house, and then they figure out how to write a contract. That is so counterproductive. So one of the things that we do is we actually take it and we run drills for all of our agents. So basically, on the second week that they're here, they're given scenarios, and we begin to write CMAs, contracts, listing agreements, so that when they get into the actual position of writing a contract for a buyer or a listing agreement for a seller, they already have the fundamentals that they need. Obviously, you need experience, and the only way to get experience is to keep on doing it. But at this point, you already have the fundamentals down. So now the adjustments are going to be a lot smaller than if you just grab that rifle, you get out on the range, and you just pull the trigger, hoping something hits. Okay, so we have to really get into the fundamentals. We have to do this. Now, by doing this, the byproduct of it is, and you can go to the next slide, right? The byproduct of this is when you have the accountability and you're following up, and you're doing your 100 door knocks a day, or you're making your 10 to 20 phone call conversations, not dials, folks, conversations. When you're making these conversations, and you can start to realize what is going wrong. Why is it that we are not, connecting with our clients? We have to make an adjustment, right? We just, Ashley mentioned about her auto reply that she's got to adjust. Guys, we all have that stuff. I have stuff. I spent 15 years working with the government. All right. My reactions since I've been in this industry have not always been in line with what they were supposed to be. All right. But I've made adjustments, overcame, and my business is on point because of that. So when you do that, you take the accountability, you start to take back control of your life, right? I sent out as part of the attachments what a perfect week would look like by using time blocking, setting those times up, using the programs that Ashley just shared. Okay, you can start to develop that life that you want, right? When we had a 9-to-5 job, it was easy. The boss said, be there at 9 o'clock. He's told you you can leave at 5 o'clock. We don't have that anymore. Okay, so now it's on us to make sure that we are staying accountable and we are making the most out of our day. If you don't do it, your business life is going to suffer. You're going to be running around like a chicken with your head cut off. Your home life is going to suffer. Most people, unless you're married to another realtor, they're not going to explain why or understand why you're running in and out and all this craziness. You have to take that control back. And by doing this too, you'll also show your value to your clients, right? So they're going to understand you're a professional and not just some reactive person that got a real estate license that hopefully wants to sell a house someday when somebody walks through the door. All right. I hope that all makes sense to everybody. And then the last slide, basically, choose your weapon. Right? Whatever that CRM is, learn it, learn how to use it, whatever lead gen, the other stuff that you're doing, learn the functionalities, learn what it does, take the classes that they offer. All right. Implement the fundamentals and then correct for windage. All right. So I hope that helps, guys. And thank you so much for listening. And back to you, Jason.
Christopher, thank you. I love the comparison of getting into the Marine Corps versus getting into real estate. That was truly some wonderful nuggets I got out of there. I mean, yeah, see, I even took notes. So our next speaker, I'm going to bring Amanda Whitespear back to talk about what is your top leverage tactic and how you use it in business. Amanda, please take it away.
Yay, I love leverage. Just like Chris had kind of talked about, leverage could either be systems, technology, or teams. And the whole idea of leverage is to get your time back. You know, whenever you first start in this business, you either have time or money. And typically when you're new, you have a lot of time and no money. And then when you kind of grow your business, you have more money and less times. And for me, teams is my love language. That's like my thing that I've been doing at a really high level. Last year, we were honored enough to be the #1 standard team at EXP. And so if y'all have team questions, I'm hooked. But there's 3 different ways that you could really leverage people and create a team and get your time back. At the end of the day, you are an independent contractor. You are the CEO of your business, and you need a board of directors. And so if you're just now starting out and you're not a huge, top producer, maybe that board of directors is your vendors and your mentor and your fellow agents that you can trust. And so you might have like a self-organized kind of loose team where your leverage might be a showing concierge, which is just a, hey girl, I need your help. I'll Venmo you $40 if you can go open this door. But to your client, it's, hey, my showing concierge, Jennifer, is going to open the door and I'll still be here to negotiate everything. Leverage could be your TC, and pay them per deal, don't have a huge capital risk. Once you start to grow your business, you could have a real traditional team where you have a team leader, you have buyer's agents. Those people are out working weekends and nights while you get to be at home with your family and have vacations. And for me, I have mastered the traditional team so much. Our team is Cityside Properties here in Houston that now I have expansion teams. And so since we're in the people business, you find your leaders and you say, hey, if I can do this Cityside Houston, why not have Cityside Dallas, Cityside Fort Worth, Cityside San Antonio, Cityside Corpus Christi? You kind of get the idea, right? And then as you grow that, you can have leaders in other states. With the model that we have with our company, we can, wherever you're licensed, it's one cap and it's kind of grew at the speed of the internet. So for you, if you don't have a team and you want to create one, if you have any questions, let us know, but find your leaders in other states. We're in the people business and the opportunities for leverage is really endless. Hope that helps, Jason. Leverage people. It works. Win-win.
That does. It was a little shorter than I thought. I thought we had more time, but if you want to continue, we have quite a bit more time, or we can move on to the final speaker. It's up to you.
Well, Jason, I think this is where we were going to do the leverage. We were all going to give our leverage.
Okay. Sorry. I'm losing it. So let's then move on. Since you're already speaking, Tanya, go for it. What is your favorite leverage tactic that you like to use?
Thank you. And Amanda, that was awesome. You guys, Amanda's amazing. And one thing I want to say about Amanda is such a big leader in the industry. What I love about her is she's a collaborative leader. She shows up. Like, I was blown away when we started our coaches leadership group. I didn't know her. She didn't know me. She didn't know any of us. And she's like, oh, I did this and I did this, and here are my assets, boom, 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 boom. And I was like, whoa, in an industry where we have a scarcity mindset for the most part, right? Everybody's like, oh, I don't want to share this. Oh, it's my secret. There's no secrets out there anymore, you guys. It's a matter of like, you can give your secrets to everybody and people aren't going to do anything with it. And so, Amanda, I just want to say thank you for being that woman that has this abundant mindset. So thank you. And so speaking of it, right, leveraging people. My first one is leveraging this group, right? So if you hopped on late, the way that we started this group is coaches need coaches, right? So we started CLG, this coaches leadership group, because we were like, okay, how do we leverage other leaders' knowledge? How do we leverage our accountability? How do we level up and go from a 2 to a 10, right? And one thing is you are the sum total of your environment. environment. And I believe you're the sum total of your leaders, and leveling up is picking leaders that are going to lead you, not just because they're top producers. Okay. Just because you see someone that's a top producer does not mean that they're going to lead you. And as a John Maxwell leadership coach, I might offend a lot of people here, but most top producers are terrible leaders. Okay. So if you feel like you're one of those, you need to assess, like, how can I be a better leader? Because we have to be about building better leaders. So my CRM tip, or my leverage tip, this is for teams. I coach over 200 people across the country, mostly at our brokerage, but also at other brokerages. And I need to make sure that I'm loving on them, right? They feel like they matter, even though a lot of them are new agents and some of them are big, big teams and that kind of thing. For me, leverage is making sure that I leverage my resources in time to let people know that they matter. Do I fall short sometimes? Absolutely. But how do I do that? Going back to what I was saying with the follow-up, right? The fortune is in the follow-up. If you're running a team, or you're running your team as your clients, you have to figure out, what resources can I use to make my life better, right? How do I not drop the ball? How do I not look like I don't have my shit together, right? And that's where I will say, I personally love Go High Level. And one of the reasons why I love Go High Level is because I could send a text to 600, 2,000 people at once with an image. I can send people their homework. I've also extracted hundreds of Vimeo trainings, leadership training, listing training, buyer training. So when my agents say, Tanya, I'm working with an Airbnb, I'm working with an investor, I need help, instead of sending them into la land and whatever all over the place, I get at the click of my finger, I could say, here you go. My job as your leaders, I don't want you getting super techie. I want you selling. I want you in front of people. I don't need to turn you into a professional marketer. I need you to sell homes. Here you go. So Go High Level is what I use because of mass text, mass email, and ease of use, because I don't know all that stuff very well. So that's my tip.
That was amazing. Thank you, Tanya. Gary, what is your top tactic that you use in your business for leverage?
Yeah, so you're causing my head to explode, everybody. There's just so much that I keep getting inspired to talk about. So I'm going to take just a couple minutes and say a few things. So I think, for us, I came from being a custom home builder and renovator. So we've always had a very gluey system of people. And I think that's really critical, as one of the things that you do is leverage other people, right? And their expertise. So we're known in our business for our ability to do more than just, and no offense to anybody, do more than be just a realtor, or more than just getting a transaction done. We deal in every level of real estate, from development to dealing with towns, everything. So I'm very much multilingual and multifaceted in how we handle clients. So I think that's one of the big things is, build a really good list of people that you're surrounded by, that you can really help your clients get through the things they just don't know how to get through, right? And that makes us extremely valuable. Our systems, door knocking led us to be able to afford systems. So, we use things like Trello. We are, using a modified version of High Level. So doing similar things as Tanya with lead flows and all kinds of different things, and workflows and events. It's just a quite unique program. It's not terribly expensive. That's something that we do as well. And then for us, lead generation. These days, I use a system called Sync, or Commissions Inc., that we do a lot of inbound lead through. So we have over 9,000 leads in our system. And it's a very easy system to manage and keep follow-up going in those leads. And point in case, it is a nurture system, but my wife just last night won in competition on a buyer lead that registered on the system 60 days ago. And she just won again in competition last night. So, these systems do work. You just have to show up and do the work. And that's the one thing that we all keep saying is, you have to put the time into what you do. I think the other thing that I want to mention that's really critical to leverage is investing in coaches and masterminds. Any dollars that you have to reinvest in yourself or your business, spend it on coaches and masterminds. And guys, vet them out, right? Don't just sign a coach because they have a great big name. That doesn't make them necessarily the right person for you. So always at least interview a couple people and figure out who has the best gluiness to you and who is actually going to get you moved and motivated, because, you know, coaching is great, but if they're not making you move, you're going to find in the end, all that's gone by is a bunch of time and you're not going to change. So I think that for me is one of the biggest things. And even masterminds, I belong to a private mastermind group. It costs us substantially to be there every year. It's more than realtors in there. It's a diverse group of business people, and we cover everything we need to in our personalized business and real estate. So I think those are some of the things that I took a little bit of a long breath in that, but really important, guys. You know, each one of these things that we're talking about will catapult your business if you invest in you and them.
Oh, Gary, that was amazing. Thank you. Last but not least, Christopher, can you tell us what your favorite tip and a top tactic is in 2 minutes or less in what you use in your business to leverage back your time?
Sorry about that. It was muted. Bottom line is, guys, our strongest tool is our mind and our mindset. All right. And the strongest thing for me is my morning routine. All right. When I get up every morning, I have my routine. For everybody thinks I'm crazy. I'm up at 4 o'clock. I go to the gym by 4:45. All right. I get in. I have my, you know, my after gym drinks. Get my mindset right and start the day with a clear head. And that is the biggest thing, is to keep my head straight so I can utilize all of these systems that everybody's talking about. Thank you.
Wow, that was very brief. I love it. All right, so here we are, getting down to the final stretch. I'm going to ask Tanya to introduce our keynote speaker.
Okay, great. So you guys, again, if you hopped on late, Chris Heller is a friend of mine, a friend of Ashley's, the reason why we know each other, and also through Peggy Delano. He is the author of Dominant Thoughts. Go out and get the book. It is a parable. And in the back, he has the summary. I absolutely love it. I've gotten emails today, people that are watching it or reading it and listening to it. He's the speaker. He is the real estate sorry, I'm looking at the slide and trying to read and think at the same time. Chief Real Estate Officer for Ojo Labs, one of the top real estate industry leaders, as I mentioned, selling over 100 homes a year for over 3 decades, 34 years. And the one thing I didn't mention, not the one thing, is why I really like working with Chris, right? In this industry, I talked about it earlier, is we need better leaders in this industry, right? And in this industry, it's an industry of a lot of top producers, but fewer leaders, and that fewer people that have such a collaborative and open mindset. And when I was thinking about Chris, and Ashley and I actually were just talking about this, Chris, we were talking about you. I love that Chris is humble. Earlier, I talked about humble confidence is sexy, right? He is so humble. I've never seen any ego out of him in 20 years, right? The other thing is Chris is available, okay? He's like, text me if you need anything, call me. Yes, I'll get on the phone with somebody. He's collaborative. You can trust him. Ashley just said it yesterday. I need more Chris's. I need to work with people like Chris, because Chris is easy. Chris lets us do our jobs. When we say, Chris, hey, will you be on here? Yeah. Can you do this? He's like, hey, just do this, this, and this, and send me the slides. And he's steady. And so I just want to thank you, Chris, as a leader that we respect, that we love collaborating with. And I hope that you will come on and do more of these with us. So thank you for coming, and we look forward to your presentation.
Thank you very much for the kind words. And what I heard was, I'm sexy, I'm easy, and I'm available. And I'm not available. So I don't know about the other two, but I am married. So so
What
just to
I
set the
meant-
record straight, I didn't
get
want
that way.
people.
You're available if we need you. Clarification. Words matter. Words matter.
All right. So thank you. Thank you, both of you. And thank you, everyone. Boy, look at in the last hour and a half or whatever it's been, whether it's Ashley, Christopher, Gary, everyone else that shared, there's a lot of great takeaways. And here's the thing about real estate. There's no secrets to what it takes to be successful. And Christopher touched on it just a minute ago. The difference between the agents and the teams that succeed at the highest level, in fact, in any industry, the difference between the people, the athletes that succeed at the highest level is not what they know to do or how to do it, or if they do it, it's their mindset. Because mindset really is the foundation of what it takes to be successful. I think we have a couple slides. So yeah, there we go. So Tanya mentioned this book. It's not a real estate book, but I'm a real estate agent. I wrote this book with real estate agents and teams in mind. And the reason I did is because I've seen over the last 30, 40 years what the successful people do and how they do it, and what the ones that struggle do and why they struggle. And although this short story isn't about real estate, it's about a mentor and a mentee, each of the chapters is about a lesson that I've learned and used to be successful at the things that I want to be successful at. And one of them is that this concept that mindset really is everything. I mean, 90% of what it takes to be successful is our mindset. We can learn a script on how to follow up. We can learn how to fill out a contract, give a listing presentation. But the mindset, what do we do when we get knocked down? How do we respond to things? What's our mindset going into things? What is our approach? What are our expectations? All those things determine how confident we are, how effective we are, and how resilient we are. In real estate, which is, I just wrote this the other day in one of my posts, I forget how I said it, but something to the effect that from day to day, real estate's a roller coaster, right? You could get a phone call and the person on the other end of that line could be singing your praises. Like, you're the greatest thing since sliced bread. They're so grateful for you. The next phone call you get could be the opposite, where they're telling you how unhappy they are with you and how disappointed and how mad or how you messed this up, or they think you're responsible for that. That's the world we live in. How do some agents deal with that effectively where other agents are crushed by those things? It's because they have a strong mindset, because a strong mindset keeps you on track. When your fears, your insecurities, your worries enter in, all those human things that we all have, are you able to process them quickly and keep moving forward? Or are they things that sit you back for hours or days or weeks? The answer to that will be determined by how strong your mindset is. A weak or a negative mindset will never produce positive results. And when you're in that bind, can't think of the word I'm looking for, but anyways, that type of mindset, it's really hard to be effective. I mentioned attitude, approach, expectations. Those are really key concepts to having a strong mindset. By attitude, self-explanatory. You either have a good one or a bad one. And what are you doing to build that attitude? Are you focusing on good things? Or are you being bogged down by negative things? I've always made a habit of limiting the negative because there's so much negative around us, and it's always coming in, right? What we in the news, on social media, online, people around us, our environments, all those things could be negative. So I've worked really hard to limit those, right? I don't have negative people in my life. I don't listen to the news. I don't go down the rabbit holes of negativity. Now, having the willpower not to do those things can only get you so far. So I cheat, or I came up with a way to make it easier. And that is I over-index on the positive things. See, when I'm reading good stuff and listening to good stuff and watching good stuff and having good conversations with good people, things that give me energy, It's much easier to shield the negative. So that's one of the things that you want to do is to help have a great attitude. Now, why is that great attitude important? Because it's much easier to be effective when you have a great attitude. It's much easier to get up every day and do the things you need to do when you have a good attitude. And yes, that's common sense. And yes, we know that, but yet why do so many people struggle with it? Because they haven't built that muscle of that strong mindset. Approach, the second piece of it. So there's the attitude, then there's the approach. The approach is, actually, if you flip back, I want to get to that in a minute. Thank you. The approach is, have we developed our skills at the highest possible level? Am I going in that appointment fully prepared, fully confident, because I know my comps, I know the seller situation, I know my presentation, and I know I'm not walking out without that listing signed? Do I have the best possible approach? Have I prepared myself at the highest level to be most effective? And if not, then what do I need to do that? Do I need to be practicing more? Do I need to have daily role plays? Do I have to have a daily accountability partner? Do I have to incorporate more affirmations into my life? Those are things that we can do to improve our approach. And then lastly, our expectations. Am I expecting that I'm going to walk out with that listing? Or am I expecting that they're going to hire someone else because they're interviewing, Tanya, who's a better agent than me, right? What is it? What is my expectation? When I'm making my calls, am I expecting that that person's going to pick up the phone and be so happy that I called them because it's the perfect time for me to be calling them? Or am I expecting them not to answer? Or am I expecting them to be unhappy or expecting them to be pissed because I've interrupted them, right? All those things impact our attitude. All those things impact our mindset. So I could literally talk about mindset for the rest of the day, but you guys get really bored and start dropping off this Zoom. So I'm not going to do that. So let's go into the next slide. These are the things that we talk about in the book and that each of these lessons I've learned. And I'm not going to go through all these, but I'm just going to touch on a couple of them. In a changing market, and the market now is changing, it's going to continue to change. Keep reminding yourself that people still buy and sell homes. So, and what we do to help people buy and sell homes doesn't change. What changes is the level of education that we need to be providing, the types of conversations we need to be having, the type of education we need to be able to provide to a seller or buyer to educate them to what's currently happening so that they make good decisions based on good information we provide, and then how we react to the changes. Are we viewing it as an opportunity? Are we viewing it as a positive? Or are we fearful, scared, or concerned about those things? And again, if you are, that's not a bad thing, but you can change that. It's a decision and choice you make every day. Again, mindset is everything. The concept of showing up. In fact, did we put a slide on this, Tanya? I don't remember if we did or not.
Yes.
Okay, we'll talk about this, showing up. There's the literal sense of showing up, right? Physically being there, but it's much more than that. It's being there mentally and emotionally. It's being present. It's being early. I've shared before, every listening presentation I went on, I had multiple goals. One was to get the listing, but the others were to differentiate myself. And one of the ways I differentiated myself is I always showed up 5 to 10 minutes early. Why did I do that? Because I know real estate agents are notoriously late, and their other 3 appointments probably showed up late, whether it was a minute late or 5 minutes late. I got there 5 or 10 minutes early. I was different. And people interpreted that in a different way. Being present, it's much easier to be present when we're prepared, when we know our scripts and dialogues, when we know our presentation, when we don't have to be thinking about it, when we don't have to be saying, I hope she stops talking so I can say what I wanted to. But we're able to actually listen to what they're saying and listen what's causing them to say the things they're saying. What's the questions behind the questions they're asking, so we can address the real issues. You can't do that if you aren't present. You can't do that if you aren't prepared. So showing up is a key component. Let's go to the next one, the next point. Or the previous one, I think it was the one we skipped over. Yes, discipline. One of my favorites. We all have a different relationship to discipline. if you ask any of your kids if they think discipline is a good or bad thing, they're probably going to say it's a bad thing, right? Because for kids, they relate to it, and we relate to discipline with kids in a negative way for the most part. But as adults and as professionals, when you look at the top athletes, Olympic athletes, professional athletes, the top people in any field, they've developed a high level of discipline in certain areas of their life. Discipline is a muscle, it's a habit that we build. And having the discipline to do the things we need to do, especially on the days we don't want to do it or don't feel like doing it, is a key component to being very, very successful. So how do you build the muscle of discipline? Well, you start with little things. Christopher shared, getting up and going to the gym every day, getting up at 4:30 in the morning, or whatever time it is that you need to get up, putting structures in place to ensure those things happen, that you build that repetition, that you build that habit. For me, I've been doing this for, let's see, 20, so almost 40 years. I've had a habit of putting my alarm clock far away from the bed, usually in the bathroom. If I'm in a hotel room, it'll be, in the bathroom or over by the TV. And I do that because every day when my alarm goes off, I have no choice but to get out of bed, right? I don't have to have this decision, this debate in my head. Do I want to? Do I need to? Do I feel like it? Do I need more? None of that exists. All that happens is I get out of bed, turn my alarm off, and my day has started. So putting structures in place to help you build the habits, to build the discipline. People a lot of times get into real estate because they want more freedom, and it's a really a contradiction. Like, if you want more time, the way to get more time is to be more disciplined with the time you have. That's why I always talk to people about having schedules and following schedules, and more importantly, having the discipline to stick to the schedule. Because the more you do that, the more time you actually have. I can live a full life as an agent. I could sell more homes than any other agents in my office or in my city or in the state, and probably is doing it in less time because I was more efficient and effective with the time that I had, because I was very disciplined with that time, very disciplined with that schedule. So the more disciplined we are with time, the more time we have. The more disciplined we are with our money, generally the more money we have. The more disciplined we are with our health, the better health we have. So focusing on how can you create discipline, and start with little things. Start with the things that are uncomfortable. It might be the time of day you wake up, the time of day you go to bed. It might be your diet. It might be wearing your Fitbit or your watch on your other wrist for the next 3 or 4 days to get through that uncomfortable feeling of that. It might be going, taking a different route every day to pick your kids up from school or to drop them off than you would normally do, to get through that uncomfortableness. And when you start to get through those win those little battles, whether it's what time you go to bed or wake up or any of the examples I gave you, it starts to build that muscle of discipline. And then the more you do, the easier it gets. So again, to talk about discipline for a long time, let's go to the next slide, or the 2 slides forward. All right, so we can talk about a lot of concepts, talk about a lot of mindset, but here's just the things that I think we all need to be doing. You can read them, you can take a screenshot. Tanya will share this with you. I'm going to touch on a few of them. For individual agents or for teams, you have to drastically increase your activities. Now, what type of activities? Primarily the revenue generating activities. That's lead generation, that's lead follow-up, that's the amount of buyer consults and listing presentations you give, that's the amount of negotiation you do. Those activities you need to dramatically increase. The first 2 or 3 I mentioned will lead to more of the last 2 or 3 that I mentioned. Double or triple your contacts on a daily basis. You should be doubling, tripling, quadrupling the amount of people that you've been talking to or that you're used to talking to. You have to build more relationships, more than ever before. Look at, it's just simple math. There's fewer transactions. And with fewer transactions, we need to be talking to more people. And then we need to make sure that we're deepening the relationships that we have. So as Tanya and some others mentioned earlier, I think Ashley might have also, make sure that we're delivering value to deepen those relationships. so that we're giving them something of value, so that they think of us when it comes to real estate, so that they think of us as an asset to them, so that they think of us as a resource to them. Anyone that's given value to you or that provides value to you, you think of them that way, right? You think of them when you need help, when you have a question, when you need a referral. Operate with a greater sense of urgency. There's two ways I could say that. One is, hey, the house is on fire. You know, do something about it. The other is, think about when you go on a vacation. Today's what day of the week is it? Tuesday. Let's say we're all going on vacation on Friday. We were leaving for a week and we're going to be in a remote area where we weren't going to have cell phones or internet. What would your days look like between now and Friday? I know what they'd look like. They look extremely productive. You would get more done between now and Friday than you probably did all of the last 3 or 4 weeks combined, because you knew you had to, because you knew that you were leaving Friday and you weren't going to be able to do things for another week till you got back. Every lead would be called, every client would be communicated with, every follow-up that you needed to make would be made. All those things would get done between now and Friday, because that's what you do. And I see you do it. What if we worked every week like that? Years ago, when I was available, I had my kids on certain days of the week, and it required me that every other week I worked 3.5 days, and then in between weeks I worked 4 days. Now, what's interesting is the amount of homes I sold didn't change. I just got really focused and I operated with a sense of urgency. Every week was like I was going on vacation on Friday, because I just had less time. So I had to be super disciplined and super focused. Practice our scripts and dialogues daily. Hey, we talked about this earlier when I talked about our approach. You want to be as skilled as possible. This is a skills market. During the pandemic, it was just a speed market, right? Whoever responded the fastest, whoever could get their client into the home the fastest, whoever could get a home on the market the fastest, all those things, speed was the differentiator. In this market, it's skills. And there's only one way to get better at your skills, and that's to practice them. Add new or multiple lead sources. Now, I want you to hear this carefully. I'm not saying do everything or do a whole bunch of things. Get really good at the 2 or 3 that you're currently doing, and then add 2 or 3 more, right? Not add 20 more at a time, but get really good and then add more. Get really good and add another one. Get really good and add another one. We need more lead sources all the time. One way to do that is to partner with platforms, whether, it's our company, Ojo, whether it's HomeLight, whether it's Homeward, whether it's Orchard, whether it's Open Door, whether it's whoever, Rocket Homes. There's companies out there that can serve as lead sources for you. Don't resist it. Take advantage of it. Talked about a schedule. I'm not gonna hammer anymore on that. Focus on your 2 E's. Let me just explain what that is. It's efficiency and effectiveness. So long time ago, I realized that I had the same amount of time as everyone else, the same amount of hours, same amount of days, same amount of weeks in a year. So how was I going to do more? How was I going to do better than all the people that I wanted to do better than? I had to become more efficient and more effective in the time that I did have. And the way I became more efficient was through increasing my skills, developing my versatility and flexibility to deal with different types of personality types, knowing my objection handlers and being able to handle any and every objection 7, 8, 9, 10 times, whatever it took to get them to say, okay, we give up, we'll hire you. Develop those skills. That was my effectiveness. My efficiency, I may have said that backward. Are you touching things 10 different times, or are you touching them once or twice and getting them out of the way, delegated, completed, filed, or whatever needs to happen to them? Most agents aren't very efficient. and most agents don't work efficiently. So it's a big area of opportunity for all of us, especially in a more challenging market. And then the last thing, work on your mindset daily. It doesn't happen by chance. Some of us aren't born more disciplined or with a stronger mindset than others. It's something you develop. It's like a muscle that you build going to the gym. Do specific things, what you listen to, who you spend time with, affirmations, what you read, all those things that can contribute to your mindset, and then be aware of it so that you can quickly course correct or see what triggers are hitting you that you need to respond to, or come up with a way to keep that mindset in the best possible place. Because let's face it, what we do is hard, and we have to have a good mindset to be able to do it at a high level every day. So I think we're over time. I apologize if I went too long. Tanya, anything else you want me to touch on, or you want to close it out?
You know what? Actually, what I'd like you to touch on is strong body, strong mind. This is part of your book. You touched on it a little bit, but I really appreciate that part.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's true or not, but I've always operated under the premise that having a strong body is much easier to have a strong mind. When you have good energy because of your exercise, because of the rest you get, because of the fuel you put in your body, it's easier to operate at the highest possible level. I think we'd all agree that when you're not feeling good, when you're feeling sick, when you're putting bad things into your body, it's just like putting bad gasoline into your car. It's gonna at some point just stop running. So having a strong body, strong mind is something I've always done. It's the first thing I do when I wake up every day. I stretch and I work out. And it's the last thing I do at the end of the day is stretching. I also work out at the end of the day. I do that because that keeps me grounded, keeps me in feeling good, and again makes me feel like I'm prepared to handle whatever there is to be handled.
Love it. Thank you so much. And you do demonstrate that. Some people say they do, but they don't. And based on your Facebook, everybody should go and buy his book and follow him on Facebook, because he brings on a lot of interviews of how to convert the leads. Okay. So there's a lot of people on there that are converting really well. So Chris, we appreciate your time. And I hope that you think that this summit went well and that you would come back, and I hope we didn't embarrass you.
No, you didn't embarrass me. All I'll remember is that I'm sexy, available, and easy. So, and if anyone, and if you do have any questions that we didn't have time for, feel free
That's
to.
going to be our Google review.
Yeah, message me on social media. Happy to help anyone.
I'm posting it on all of your social media platforms. I'm going to take that blurb and I am so using it, because no one would have ever bet money that those words would have come out of your mouth. And so
I was repeating what came out of your guys' mouth.
I know, but I'm just saying the way you gave it back was classic. Epic.
I love it. All right, we're going to close out. Jason, you want me to just close?
Yeah, we can wrap it up. I thank everyone for coming. We're a couple minutes over. Thank you all for sticking around. Tanya?
I'm just going to add a few things here. First of all, you guys, we sent out a workbook to you, okay? And when we go talk about discipline, they're in this workbook, there's sections on, this is the coach in me, right? What are the 1 to 3 action steps you are going to take from every single speaker and put into place? Okay. The thing is, you don't have to do it right away, but figure out, what is my fastest path to cash? Or what is my fastest path to working on myself, right? That's what Chris was saying, right? To know yourself is to grow yourself. If you're not ready to lead generate, go figure out how to be sexy, available, and, and humble, and attract people, right? But here's the thing. If you didn't get a workbook, message who sent you the invite. If you guys want freebies, they're in the back of the workbook. Everybody here has freebies for you. And if you want to schedule a 15-minute call with any of us, go ahead, because we'd love to help you and coach you. And I just want to say thank you guys. There was 92 people here 2 hours later. That's really awesome. And I'm just really humbled that you guys stuck around long enough Okay. And that, like, I literally was getting tears in my eyes earlier because we had this vision of what we were going to do. And I knew it was going to go well because my team here, they're available, they're humble, they're collaborative, they're reliable, right? That's who I surround myself with. And like, this went off so much better than I could even imagine. Do you guys agree? Do you guys agree? Can I get a hands? Like, what is this? I was never a cheerleader. I'm a basketball player, but I could do this. If you guys really loved it. So thank you guys so much. This is just the first. We were going to try this one first to see how well it went. Do you guys want us to do another one and do it in person? All right. I love it. Okay. We are going to send you guys a survey. We're going to send you the workbook if you didn't receive it. We're going to send you the printouts. And here's what I'm going to leave you with. Okay. A quote. Ready? I'm going to leave you 2 quotes. Rejection makes me money and makes me more confident. Rejection makes me money and builds my confidence. You got to be okay with rejection, because when people waste your time, then they're just wasting your time. Be like, I'm going to go get rejected today. Okay. And then everyone knows what I always tell them. Be like, I'm going to go get rejected, because guess what? Every no gets you one step closer to a yes. Okay. And the last one is, I'm the middle child of 2 Green Berets, retired Green Berets, recently retired. Here's the quote. Never be the last to stand up and the first to sit down. Never be the last to stand up and the first to sit down. That means be a helper. Don't be a complainer. If you're in a negative mindset right now, or you need to get your mojo back, volunteer to help. Volunteer to, hey, I want to help your group, or I want to do this, or I want to do that. Show up, like Chris said, and your life will change. Thank you guys so much. Reach out to us if you need anything, or not everything. I can't be all codependent up in here. And I also want to thank Jason for being the MC. Thank you so much. You did an amazing job. You got the job. You are not fired. Okay. Ashley for doing the slides. I want to thank Jekka, our virtual assistant, for putting things together. Everybody here, you guys are amazing. So I'm ready for the next. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, guys.